Men do love to do that thing where they're like, I think this is how a woman would react.
Yeah.
I think this is what she would say.
They're mostly wrong.
Real talk, my goal is to ask you some questions you've never been asked before. I want to take a stroll through your mind. Ready to get vulnerable? A Gen Z icon who brings sunshine to every screen she graces. With her infectious energy and relatable charm, she's become the voice of a generation finding its way. Prepare to meet the star who's both real and relatable, Ananya Panday.
Let's set the stage for a second here.
Okay.
Because when you sit in this chair next to me, the only rule is there's no rules. We're just two humans. I don't know all the right questions to ask. You might not know all the right answers, and that's okay. We're just gonna normalize being real human beings, having a real conversation in a safe space. Deal?
Deal. Done.
Let's do it.
Okay, great. Sorry, Mom. I'm already apologizing because she's always like, count, up till 10 before you answer questions, but Lily said it, so I'm not.
100%. Don't count. Just
okay, great.
Whatever you say, whatever your instinct is fine. It's absolutely fine.
Done.
But you're used to talking to people because you have a podcast.
I do. I just started it. Yes.
Tell me a bit about it.
So I have So Positive, which is a digital social responsibility, because I don't know what's happened, but I feel like there's just a lot more hate in the world. I don't know what exactly it is, but I'm seeing a lot more envy and anger and sadness and hatred out there in the world.
I completely agree. I don't know if it's just that more people have a way to express it or
Maybe
share
it's that, yeah.
I don't know. As humanity, we've come up with a list of reasons that we should feel ashamed of ourselves. And I think that inevitably makes us operate in this uncomfortable, sad, anxious state all the time.
And I think with social media, the comparison has become a lot more jarring. You can just physically see everything in front of your eyes. So, and it's with every scroll, things change, like you're looking at something really horrible happening in the world and you scroll down and there's a video of like a puppy dancing. And our attention spans have also become so small. And I feel like our capacity to even be empathetic towards something has just shortened, and because before you can even react, it's on to the next thing.
Right.
So you're not even fully feeling things. Everything is just happening so fast, and you're constantly comparing yourself because people only put the good side of their life, I normally feel this, and I know you feel this as well, that just talking about something can actually go such a long way. Just having a conversation, making people feel comfortable enough to speak out, it can go, just such a long way. And I started So Positive with that thought. And we're just talking about people's experiences, how they deal with mental health, how they deal with trolling and online bullying and stuff.
While you were speaking, I had an epiphany, which was, there are so many podcasts that exist. There's so many interview formats like this where two people sit and we have a mug full of water and we do this. And I think sometimes a question that comes up is like, do we really need another one of those things? Do we really need, and you hit the nail on the head. Talking about things can be very therapeutic and it can make change. But more specifically, it's not just about the story, it's about having a variety of storytellers. Like, even though there's other interview formats, there could be someone watching this right now that's like, I've heard this a million times, but hearing it from Ananya, hearing it from Lilly is actually changing my perspective because I see some part of myself in them. Same with the podcast. You could probably read a ton of mental health books, but hearing the right storyteller tell a story uniquely can affect an audience member. So
exactly. Yeah, it's the same with movies also, because there's only that many stories that you can tell, but sometimes it's the way the filmmaker makes the film, or the narrative that he takes on, that people connect with so much. And that's the thing with conversation as well. Me saying something might not make a difference, but if you say exactly the same thing, there'll be someone who resonates with you and understands your story and is probably coming from a similar background. So there can never be enough conversation.
100%. No, I completely agree. In fact, I'm going to humble brag for a second. One of my favorite comments from the last time we did these videos was a comment that said, I've watched a ton of interviews of this person, but for some reason, Lilly asking the questions, like a woman asking the questions to another woman, is a whole different ballpark. So like, if anyone else was sitting here and anyone else was sitting there, the conversation would still be different.
Yeah.
Thus far in your experience, whether on the podcast or even in just off the mic, do you feel like there's a difference between the way men and women talk about mental health?
I feel like it's changing now. I feel like there weren't enough men talking about it first. Not that the way they were talking about it, I just feel like they weren't talking about it first. I feel like it was the women who kind of started speaking about it and they were at the forefront of it. And now I feel like men are a lot more open to be vulnerable. I think that's the only difference. I feel like they were a little bit scared of, being shamed or made fun of or been like, oh, these are not real problems. That's how we've been conditioned and grown up, and that's the way we've been taught. But I just feel like now there are a lot more men in the conversation, but I feel like every experience will obviously be different. I feel like the way men deal with mental health and women, it is different.
Why do you think that is? Like, what has changed?
I feel like the way things are now put out in the media, I feel like the kinds of films that we're making, or maybe like the songs that people are listening to, or maybe seeing other men talk about it, I think that's what's changing. That there's actually now someone to look up to and be like, oh, they are doing that, they're telling their story, so now I'm comfortable to tell my story. So I just think one person has to start doing it, and then it's like a ripple effect, you know? So maybe now there are people they can look up to and follow, and that's why more men are doing it.
I completely agree. I feel like stories and movies and TV shows, some people just write them off as entertainment, but I actually think they create culture. And I think they teach us how to behave and not behave, and they subconsciously are teaching us all these things about ourselves. Is there any story or film or TV show that you remember watching when you were really young that fundamentally taught you something or changed something, or you looked at it and you're like, wow, that has changed the way I thought or has left an impact?
I mean, I'm such a dharma kid, so I'm only thinking about like kuch kuch hota and kabhi khushi kabhi gum.
Okay.
But I feel like in the 2000s, the early 2000s, when I was, about like 4 or 5, these films started coming out where women were just shown more real, in films like there was Luck by Chance, Konkana's character on that, or there was Konkana in Wake Up Sid, actually, the way she was just a real girl. She wasn't like glamoured up, and she didn't say the right things, she didn't do the right things, she didn't get the boy right in the start of the film, she wasn't some like beauty queen, she was just a normal girl, she was talking the way we would talk. Even Janelia from Jaane Tu Ya Jaane Na. So I think in 2000s, the spurt of just showing real women on screen who are flawed, who are like us, I think that created an impact and made me comfortable in my own skin.
I agree. In the 2000s, I think, for the first time, we're like, oh, this woman has lines.
Yeah.
She has real lines and real dialogue.
She's actually doing things and not
Exactly.
just like dancing
Correct.
around. Yeah.
Things weren't perfect, but there was some depth that was starting to happen. Now, today, as someone who's also an actress, in today's day and age, how do you think those female characters have evolved in Hindi films today?
Not actually when I started out, but maybe a little before that. So maybe like 10 years ago, if you saw sets, there would just be men on sets. There would be very few women on set, besides the actress and maybe her team. But now there are so many women on sets. There are female DOPs, directors, there are writers, women in the rooms that are writing those films. And I think that's made the biggest difference in actually telling it from a woman's perspective, actually having their experiences and not what a man thinks a woman does. Actually girls telling girl stories. And I think that's the biggest change that's happened.
Men do love to do that thing where they're like, I think this is how a woman would react.
Yeah.
I think this is what she would say.
They're mostly wrong, but it's okay. It's fine. It's okay. We don't know the way, I feel like if we also write boys, it would be different, So I think it's just best if...
It goes back to a variety of storytellers.
Yeah.
Can tell a variety of stories.
Exactly.
Can I take several steps back and go to when you were little?
Okay.
Little? When you were
Yes.
just a little wee one?
Yes.
Which wasn't too long ago, because I think you're very young.
It was, now it was. I'm not like the youngest person on set anymore, which is very sad.
But how old are you? Did you mind me saying?
25.
You're whispering 25.
Yes.
I'm 35. I'm 35 years old, and you don't need to whisper, okay? You're doing just fine.
And I'm proud to
And
be
I'm
25.
35 and I'm freaking proud. Normalize age, women age, it happens.
Yes, it does.
So every conversation comes a moment where I'm really into the conversation and I want to dive in, and for some reason I have to go like this.
Oh, okay.
I have to change my, and this
I
is
feel
the
like I
marker
should
of,
also.
Yeah, be comfortable.
Okay.
This is my
Jeans
marker
are
of,
so tight.
I want to really dive into your soul right now. Okay, I'm gonna ask some real questions. Is that okay? We're
Yes.
friends now, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we're friends now.
Best friends.
The sisterhood is strong.
Okay.
You are the daughter of
Yes.
a very famous actor. You are an actor yourself. Talk to me about your experience in a job that's pretty hard. And I'm just gonna say this right now. I know the average person, when they think about actors and actresses, is like, how hard could it be? The glitz and glamour, but we're not here to have basic conversations. We're here to get real and have vulnerable conversations. It is a hard job. To be constantly criticized and picked apart, especially as a woman, has to be very, very tough. Talk to me about how your experience has been, about even the beauty standards of being an actress in Hindi films.
I feel like you can never win. I feel like that's what I feel, because when I started out, I was 19. I was 18, 19 when I started out, and I was really skinny, and everyone used to kind of make fun about that, and they were like, oh, you have chicken legs, and you look like a matchstick, and you're like a flat screen TV, you don't have tits, and you don't have an ass. So that was what it was first. And now that I'm growing up and kind of just naturally my body's filling out, they were like, oh, there's no way she's got her butt done or she's got this done. So you can never win. It's constantly anything you do, no matter what shape you are, no matter what size you are, people will constantly have something to say and criticize that. And that's something that I've seen, especially with women. I don't feel like they do that to men at all. I feel like the hate that comes towards women is a lot more. I feel like it's our fault also because we have set unrealistic beauty standards in the films that we've, I as an actress feel like sometimes I do put that messaging out there in the films that I've done or the songs that I've done that, oh, you're all beautiful, you wake up in the morning and your hair's done. And it's not true. And you kind of have to balance that out somewhere. You have to talk about it and you have to tell people that that's not the reality. We also don't look like that. And I try to balance that out maybe by not being like that when I'm, off camera.
I think you just resolved some of my childhood trauma with something you just said right now. Because I think it's all about choices. If you want to get dolled up and put makeup, you do that. But I think the issue becomes when you feel pressured to constantly do that, or else you will face consequences. And something you said just made me realize that for a long period of my life when I wasn't wearing makeup, like right now I have my makeup done, but for a long period of time when I wasn't wearing makeup, I would not leave my house, generally speaking. I would not just go out to dinner somewhere without makeup. That would be absurd to me, to the point where I would even apologize. If I would meet people, like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't have time. Like, I have to apologize for looking like myself without putting on makeup. And something you said made me realize possibly why that might be. I'm a lover of Hindi cinema. However, me and my sister always made the joke that in the 2000s, in any Hindi movie, when the heroine wakes up, she's fully glammed.
Yeah.
There's scenes of Kajol going down a snowy mountain and I'm like, you look perfect.
Exactly. And then the rain and everything is perfect. The hair doesn't move, their eyelashes stay on. I'm like, if I try to put fake lashes on, one is on top of my head. Like, it's not real. That's not how women look
and
all the time.
And also, who wants to wear a sari in the snow? Let's talk about that.
Freezing.
Can we talk about that for a second?
It's freezing.
Have you ever done a scene like that where you were...
I haven't done a sari in the snow, but I've done like a romantic scene in the rain, and it's not romantic from any angle. Like, the rain is going in places it should not be going, and my eyes are not open. I can't even see the person I'm looking at. Like, there's nothing romantic about it. So everything is romanticized and larger than life because it's cinema. Right. And it's supposed to be enjoyed and seen that way. And the problem is when we're a very influenced country, I would say. Like, we get easily impressioned by things. And I think that's where the problem lies. I think we have to be aware of the things that we're putting on screen because we need to know that the audience is going to believe it. And that's in every way. I think it's in the way that we portray violence or the way we portray women's bodies or the way we talk about women in films or anything. We have to know that it has a direct impact on the audience and people do start believing and thinking that way. So we have to be aware of that. Is this water like real water?
It is real water.
Oh, great.
Oh, what do you think? Why would give you fake water?
No, because on sets they have like...
You're completely right.
Is this
usually
really, like I can drink
just
this,
so you
right?
all know. Usually it's empty, but
Okay,
there is.
okay.
I'll take a water break too. Hydrated queens. Oh, cheers. Cheers.
It is real water. Cheers.
It is. Yep. You are a part of telling stories. We've discussed the impact of stories. Let's say you have all the power in the world right now. Any decision you make right now is what is going to happen. You right now in this moment could change the entire trajectory of the entertainment industry. What are the stories we need to see on screen?
I mean, I did a film called Kho Gaye Hum Kahan, which came out in December, and that was a film about our generation, and that's why a lot of people related to it. It was about social media and the impact that has on relationships. So maybe if I did have the power, I would tell more stories about our generation, about what's actually going on, not from someone older who thinks that that's what's going on with the younger generation, but really how relationships are functioning, how families are functioning. Yeah, I would talk more about our generation and its
In conclusion, we get it. You're young. You're younger than me. We get it.
I just tried to say it like 7 times, but I hope y'all got that. I was Gen Z.
I want to ask you about Call Me Bae. So what is that about? Tell me briefly what it's about.
So, Call Me Bae, I don't know why I'm so excited to talk about it, but it's actually a really big deal for me because it's the first time I'm headlining something on my own. And I'm Bae, so that's
you are.
Me, I'm Bae. And so for me, it was a really big deal that actually people wanted, to back me and put money into a project where a girl is leading a show. It's about a girl who's very privileged, lives a life in a bubble, has grown up in Delhi and like super, uber rich and has had that lifestyle, and she makes a big mistake and she kind of gets kicked out of her house and she has to learn how to survive and live her life in Mumbai. And it's kind of about her hustle and how she comes into her own because she's lived such a privileged life before that. And yeah.
What are you hoping that people who watch this project take away from it?
So there's a lot of sisterhood. One of the biggest themes in the show is sisterhood, and I feel like just the way that media is, the way that they pit women against each other. You know, they say that औरत ही एक औरत की सबसे बड़ी दुश्मन है, which means a woman is a woman's biggest enemy, which is not true. I don't know why this narrative of cat fights and women fighting against each other and comparisons is always done. It's never done with the men. You know, if you see the media do it, they never say, oh, which boy wore this better, or which boy is your favorite. They're always saying this only about the girls all the time. So one of the central themes of the show is friendship and sisterhood, and actually just the difference that can make, you know, when a girl backs another girl and, you know, kind of just helps you. So I think that's something that I wish people can take away.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I could not relate more to what you're saying. And I think a big reason why it doesn't happen with men, the whole who wore it better and how come you're not fighting, is because men have several spaces. But the system is designed for women to feel like there's one or two spaces, and inevitably we have to fight.
Yeah, there's only that much room, and it's like, okay, like who's going to be in that position?
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Correct. You have been a joy to speak to. You and your lime green shirt have just been a bundle of joy.
Really?
And I love this conversation.
I love it too. I feel like I have so much more to say, but maybe in the next episode.
Well, why don't we do a round 2 next time I come?
Yeah, for
Sound
sure,
good?
for sure.
Pakka?
Done.
Pakka promise.
Done.
Okay.
I was going for a handshake,
Okay.
but that's okay.
What's going on? If you like this conversation, check out the last one I did with Ali Fazal. And if you like this kind of deep, sentimental conversation, be sure to follow my charity on Instagram at Unicorn Island. And don't forget to subscribe.